Going on, man?
What's up, Chris?
How
Hello,
are you
everyone.
doing?
I am fantastic,
Yeah,
man. How about you?
good. Y'all drop a comment. Let us know you're here. We don't know you're here if you're not commenting. I can see that there's people here, but I don't know who it is. So y'all drop a comment. Let us know you're here. Welcome
This
to
episode
Prestige
4.
Worldwide,
We made it
episode
to 4
4.
episodes.
We
Wow.
made it to 4 episodes that
We're
have not
rolling.
been banned or kicked off yet. So that is awesome. Um,
Outstanding.
we've got one more in 2 weeks, and then we'll be done for the year and hopefully pick it back up after the new year. Yeah, so this is Prestige Worldwide. We just bring people on that have questions about LinkedIn or live streaming or both and let them pick our brains for the world to see. So it'll either show how smart we are or how much we don't know on the show. We got somebody here already. Praise Yah. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. If I'm not, I apologize. Thanks for being here, man. We appreciate it.
You guys
Our
drop a
guest
comment.
today.
Let us know where you're
Do
from,
what?
too, everyone.
Yeah, let us know where you're from, so we can see kind of how wide our reach is on this thing. Our guest today is Jon DeLange. He is in the nonprofit space. Knew Anthony, and then we met after we started this thing, and he does marketing on the side. So I'm not going to tell any more about him. I'll let him introduce himself, and I'm going to bring Jon out.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Anthony. How are you guys?
Good,
Hey,
man. How are
Jon.
you doing?
It's a wonderful day here. I'm coming to you from Michigan. The snow's coming down. I appreciate our state because we get all 4 seasons. And my wife says there's no spiders, snakes, or hurricanes here in Michigan, so she's okay living here too. We appreciate that.
That is the exact opposite of the South. We have snakes, spiders, hurricanes in 2 seasons.
Exactly. One of my coworkers at Summit Ministry said, "Yeah, we had a Category 1 last week. I didn't even take the pool toys out of the pool. I just watched them spin around in the middle while the branches fell off my trees." Like, man, that's nuts.
Category 1 is just entertainment.
Exactly. He's a Florida native, so he knows what he's doing. I would get nervous if that were me, though.
Right. Exactly. So tell us a little bit about what you do, what your nonprofit is. Tell us about Jon.
Sure. So I'm from West Michigan here. I grew up on a strawberry farm, and I thought I wanted to change the world. I got into politics for a little while and quickly got out after just a couple of years. So that was a short-lived stint, but it gave me some opportunity to just do lots of contacting and reaching out to people, and that led into the nonprofit fundraising space. So I was working as the director of development in Michigan, and then had the opportunity to start doing digital marketing work. So I've run my nonprofit fundraising job concurrently with a digital marketing business the last 6 years now. And my full-time position is with Summit Ministries, where we teach biblical worldview to students leaving high school, going to college, and then equip Christian schools with great Bible curriculum as well. So cool. I work with some smaller organizations than where we are at with Summit. My sweet spot is Christian organizations between $250,000 and $3 million in annual revenue that want to be proactive with their fundraising efforts.
Awesome. Very cool. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, man. The floor is yours.
Well, I see a comment here. What exactly is the meaning of prestige? And I was Googling too, the Prestige Worldwide website. It appears to be a Step Brothers fan site. First of all, are you guys serious with that?
We're real serious.
Super serious with it. The whole thing was a spoof from the thumbnails that were created, and Amy Wills created those for us in about 2 seconds flat.
Not a lot of time was spent on that.
No, but she did really good. Like everything is an exact spoof off of Step Brothers, and even the intro music, the Hall & Oates song, is played during the movie Step Brothers at a certain part.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's a full spoof on that.
That's the sort of thing that I think is a lot of fun online. We can jump into this idea of authenticity versus authority. That's something that I wanted to to get your guys' thoughts on, because what I run into is people who try and figure out, oh man, I need to find the perfect thing to post, or I don't want to come across in the wrong way. The nonprofit world is full of people that are afraid to take action. And you guys seem to have cracked the code a little bit on, hey, we're just going to go for it. We're going to do it. And we're going to have a heck of a time while we play off of a favorite movie or all of that. But it still seems to produce business results. So can you guys explain your approach here on this, or is it driven by one thing or another?
You want to take that, Anthony?
I'll take part of it, and you take the other part. But we're still waiting on the lawsuit to come in from Prestige Worldwide, the movie, or Step Brothers, the movie. We made it 4 episodes without getting sued yet. We'll see if we can get through the whole calendar year. So that's
right.
one. But more to your point, or to your question, John, yes, so many people struggle on LinkedIn because they don't know what to post. They don't know how to engage. Like, I see this over and over with just people that I'm seeing on the network, people that are working with me, because when they come to LinkedIn, they feel like they have to be, in professional mode, and everything is just, watched with a magnifying glass, and like they overthink it. That's the bottom line. They overthink to the point of paralysis. And that's why, literally less than 5% of all users worldwide on LinkedIn post original content on a weekly basis. They're overthinking it. They don't know what to post. And the way I've had some success, the way I've seen others who have really done well on the platform, they find ways to show their personality as part of their content strategy. It can't all be, just fun and jokes. You've got to balance that with content that shows your expertise in your field, showing, that thought leadership, the authority there. But it's about finding that right balance between the two. And the folks who do that, those are the ones who are building a personal brand. And we had a show yesterday where we were actually talking about, tips to build your personal brand. And it all starts with, building out a content strategy where people can know something about you, see your authentic self, but then also see the expertise that you have and the problems that you solve for your customers. And, you're right on in the fact that, especially in the nonprofit world, I think that hesitation is even more so than in the for-profit world for whatever reason. And that there's obviously a lot of opportunity for nonprofits who are willing to, step out there and say, okay, we're going to embrace LinkedIn because it can do phenomenal things for your fundraising, for talent recruitment, for employee retention, tons of benefits there. But that's my rambling answer to your question. I'm sure Chris could probably add to that.
No, yeah, everything Anthony said, and kind of what, showing your personality, that was a big deal for me. I've only been on LinkedIn for a couple of years. Anthony was one of my very first connections. And I still remember the post that made me connect with him. It was a post deer season post about wives check on your husbands. They're not okay. And I'm a hunter, and I saw that and I just laughed my butt off at it. And then I saw he worked at Ducks Unlimited, and being a hunter, that appealed to me. So, it says something to Anthony that 2 years later, I still remember the exact post that caught my eye with him. Right. And it's those little things like that keep you top of mind, to whether or not you are talking about what you do. I talk about live streaming and producing and how I can help a lot, but I also talk about the most random crap. But you want to be top of mind. So it's not necessarily just posting about everything that you do, but post funny stuff, post stuff that shows your personality. Because people do business with people. The same thing would be true with fundraising. They may believe in cause, but it's going to be you that sells them on donating, right?
I appreciate that.
I hope that answered it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I have more follow-up questions and all that, but that people give to people is very true, and that's something that you can lean into and you can overdo, I think, in some ways too. We want to make sure people keep, at least in the nonprofit world where I'm at, we don't want to veer too far into the founder-driven fundraising or the personality-driven fundraising. we still need to connect people to the mission overall.
Mm-hmm.
That Anthony, that talent acquisition and fundraising success through LinkedIn, how have you seen that play out in the nonprofit world so far? Was that part of your position in the past that you were leveraging some of that, or how have you seen clients succeed in those areas?
Yeah. So when I was at Ducks Unlimited, that's when I really first started posting content on LinkedIn. And I got started posting just because I didn't understand the platform. It was the one platform I didn't have much experience with, and leading the social media program there, like I needed some firsthand knowledge. So that's how I started posting, and not really having a goal other than just trying to learn the platform. But over the course of a couple of years, through the content that I'd posted and the network I had built, one day I sat down with my team, my digital marketing team, and said, "Hey, let's put together a plan where we start posting content as a team on LinkedIn, content talking about the projects we're working on, the culture in the organization, showing behind the scenes content, because Ducks Unlimited has always had such a phenomenal culture." And the idea there was I always wanted people to see or want to come to work at Ducks Unlimited because of the content they saw us posting on LinkedIn. I wanted people to want to work for my team because of the content they were posting. And so, it's hard to say how much, direct revenue came from that. We never had any major gifts that came in because I made a post. Although I gave a presentation last year at the NEO Summit, and I had someone from the audience reach out to me recently. She works for a nonprofit, and she told me that she had taken what she had learned in that presentation, and 1 year later, she had gained over 41,000 followers to her profile.
Wow.
And landed multiple six-figure gifts from some of her posts, her profile posts that she had made on LinkedIn, and it blew me away. So a lot of folks have taken that. There's probably not a lot of folks in the nonprofit world that are extremely active, but the ones that are doing it and doing it right, there can be phenomenal results. And yes, there's so many challenges in the nonprofit world now. Fundraising is always one, but your earlier point about talent acquisition, talent retention. A lot of nonprofits are bleeding talent right now. So if you are active on LinkedIn and doing all the great things that are happening there, it can be a very powerful tool in recruiting employees.
I appreciate that. That's something that it seems like it's this aphorism in the nonprofit world where your fundraising reflects the internal culture of your organization. And it sounds like you guys cracked the code on figuring out how to show that internal culture from your day to day. And did you give your employees marching orders, or did they just come up with stuff on their own? And you said make all the step make all the Step Brothers references that you want, and we're gonna have a heck of a time on Ducks Unlimited LinkedIn channels. What did that look like?
Yeah, I love that question. So no, absolutely did not give them marching orders, because there are some people in any team, in any organization, there are going to be some people who are social media savvy. They're already active on other channels. They get it. They enjoy doing that. There are other individuals who are more private. They don't participate on social media. I would say in any organization, if you're putting together a brand advocate program, you can't force it. You can encourage people. You can lead by example. I always try to lead by example by posting content saying, "Hey, this is the type of thing that you can post. This is what's worked for me." But at the end of the day, people need to want to do it because it has to come from a place of authenticity where they're going to be comfortable doing it. So it's giving them support, giving them some guidance, again, leading from the front. But I would never say, "Okay, here are marching orders. You've got to do this," because I think that can backfire, and it's uncomfortable for the employees that just aren't ready to do that. So that's kind of how we operated there.
Okay, I appreciate that. I have a story from the NEO Summit 2021 as well. Although hearing you share this makes me think I didn't listen very closely to your talk.
Let's hear it.
Well, I had a friend ask me for his Marketing Trench Warfare podcast what my top takeaway from the Neo Summit was, and there were two for me. Now looking back, I might change my answer from him, but number one was we nearly tripled our conversion rate on our give page as a result of that conference. And number two, personally for me, was I decided to start posting every day on LinkedIn because of your talk, Anthony. And so it's neat to see the change over the course of the last 12 months, roughly. I think I just crossed 500,000 views of content and quadrupled the network. So it's not 41,000, but it was going up about six clients that I can attribute to my posting on LinkedIn as a result of that. And so I've been trying to take it seriously. I think there's a lot that all of us can figure out still for cracking the code of the algorithm or taking advantage of all the different things. My question, I guess, that I'd pose to you guys is, how much time do each of you dedicate to coming up with posts each day? Or, do you batch your content? What does that look like? Because I think there's easy mode and there's hard mode that we were talking about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Some people overthink it.
I'd like Chris to answer that. But before he does, though, just on, one, thanks for sharing that story about the Neo Summit and what you got from it. Real results like that. But props to you because like you took that information that you learned and like you took massive action over the next year. And I've been watching your profile. We've been connected for a while. I've been seeing your posts. The post that you made this morning, everyone that's watching, like, go to Jon's profile, look at the post that he made. It's spot on, fantastic tips for like how to be successful on LinkedIn. And so, really the difference between people like you and, other people who may have attended that session is you took the information and you took action. And like that made all the difference. So props to you for doing that. Keep up the great work that you're doing on LinkedIn. And I'll toss the question that you just put out. I'll toss that over to Chris.
Thanks.
I wanted to say something first is I know you said something about, well, it's not 40,000. Don't compare yourself to people with larger followings. Like, I don't compare myself to Anthony. I've got 6,800 or something. But I didn't really start seeing massive growth. I say massive, noticeable growth until probably the past 6 months. And I've been on LinkedIn for 2 years. So it took me about a year and a half of being super consistent to where I really started. It's noticeable every week, my follower count. It's like 100 every week and a half or something like that. When it starts jumping like that, you start paying attention. Like, oh my gosh, just the other day it was, 6,000 or whatever. So it's a long game when you do it right, when you do it organically, when you don't use pods or, do stupid gimmicks or whatever. So don't be discouraged on that. I don't batch my content. I have a Google Docs that if something comes up and I get an idea, I'll just type it in there real quick. I've thought about batching it, but I'm so, if something comes up and I want to post about it now, I don't want to already have all this stuff scheduled. So that's just me. I know a lot of people do batch it. They'll write out all the posts and all that. I'm kind of a spur of the moment kind of guy, my own deal. It's kind of weird with my clients. I'm really particular about having everything meticulously planned out. When it comes to mine, I'm a little bit more fly by the seat of my pants. So I have ideas on a Google Docs, or I'll tell Siri to remind me, tomorrow at 7 a.m. post about this if I get an idea. And that's really my content strategy. I try to mix it up, a mix of live streaming stuff and personal stuff or funny stuff or just off the wall, whatever. So yeah, that's my content strategies. I really don't have one other than I have a general idea in my head of, stuff I want to post for the week, but that's about it.
And I'm very similar to that, Chris. For me, I don't really like have days where I'm going to batch content, but there are days that I wake up and the creative juices are just flowing. Like I can sit down and I can crank out a post. I've got like 10 ideas all of a sudden, maybe that came to me in the middle of the night or whatever. And on those days, I try to capture at least all of the ideas. And if I've got the time, I may write out a couple of posts and then post them over the next week or two. There are days where I wake up and it's the complete opposite. Like it's like I'm staring at a blank wall, zero creativity, zero ideas. On those days, I'll turn back to, like Chris said, to that Google Doc or wherever I'm keeping these ideas or these posts, and I'll pull one of those out. So I think it comes down to what works best for you as an individual. If you're great at batching content and can do that, great. If you're better, like Chris said, just kind of flying day by day and figuring out what you're going to post, you just have to find a style and a cadence that works for you.
I will say this, though. If you think you're going to remember an idea when you have it, you're not. So you better write that sucker down somewhere, because I will lose it I have great ideas in the shower. I will lose it from the shower to when I get out and can get to my phone.
Yep.
And I don't take long showers, 10 minutes tops, and I'm out of there. I will lose it. So if you have an idea, get the Google Docs app on your phone, just put it in there, your notes app or wherever, something where you can remember it. And I usually try to, if I do have an idea, I'll try to write at least 2 or 3 sentences. So I have when I come back to it, I'll remember what that train of thought was, not just, post about the term parasocial or whatever. You know what I mean?
So on that point of the shower, Chris, I have to throw this in. I heard a podcast this weekend as I was driving. The speaker was saying some of his best ideas come in the shower, and he said he actually found and ordered waterproof notebook paper that he keeps in his shower, and he'll actually write down the idea of notebook paper. And I've been meaning to Google that just to see what in the world it looks like. It seems like it's a little excessive for the shower idea, but apparently the product does exist, waterproof notebook paper. So y'all can go Google that to your heart's content.
That's pretty cool.
Or if you have a glass shower side, you can just get one of those dry erase markers.
Yeah, right.
Have your game plan going. I've been that way since probably 16, 17. I have my specific pen that I always have on me, and I'm a pen snob, and my thing is Uniball Signo 207, and my wife was like, "Oh, let me get the Bic or whatever this is." No shade, although we're skating under the radar with these lawsuits and everything. So that was my shameless plug for the day. That's the pen I always carry around with me.
And John, tell us where we can get this fine pen on the
yeah,
on the
no
internet.
Kidding.
Man, you can get them at Staples. I buy them in packs of 12, but that's I don't know if it's the pen. Usually that's where people go wrong. They get it. They fall in love with the tool and don't fall in love with the process. So, Chris, can you convince me that it's a great idea to be live streaming? This is the first one I've ever really done. I went live with the American Nonprofit Academy, Jarrett Ransom and Julia Patrick a couple weeks ago to talk about reflecting values in fundraising. But this is new to me, man. I got to let you guys know too. It's a little nerve wracking for somebody who doesn't live stream often to try and take the plunge. So what's the pro case on this?
So if you're going to do live streaming, the first thing I would tell you is the very first time you ever host a show by yourself, do not try to bring any value. Don't have talking points, or if you do, make it really light. Get a friend on there with you, and y'all just have fun and cut up while you learn the software. Or I can teach you how to run the software. Or I can produce the show for you. But so live streaming is such a great tool. It takes there's a term, and the term I just used a minute ago called parasocial, where it's the phenomenon that the people that are watching, it's usually related to people with like that are on TV or online, where as you're watching them, you feel like you know them and you trust them. It can be taken to extremes, and then you get like stalker activity or whatever, but it's really the phenomena based on knowing someone and liking someone based on seeing them and hearing them on your screen all the time. And live streaming is, we talk about video, how it builds that like, know, and trust factor, and it's because of that term parasocial. Um, Live streaming really amps that up because one, it really shows the human side of you because you can't edit out any uh-ohs or oopses or oh craps or anything like that. And it allows for interaction with your audience. So people interaction with your audience and with your guests. So people get to see how you interact with other people, but then you also get to interact with your audience. So they're asking questions, they're making comments, they're networking in the chat. So a lot of times they don't even care that you're talking. They're having a party. They're going back and forth while they're listening to you. So it's just a great way to build a network, build a community, build that like, know, and trust factor. That's amped up even over regular organic video or whatever you want to call it. But like we were talking about earlier, it's such a great way to showcase your expertise. That's why, just full transparency, that's why Anthony and I started this was, we wanted to bring people on and answer their questions and help them out and give them a boost. But it also is a great way for us to show what we know, right? And there's no better way to do that than to have somebody on there and then y'all talk about it. So if you were in the nonprofit space and you're wanting to, fundraise or whatever, you can bring people on that have been to the conferences y'all do, people that have gone through the curriculum that y'all provide, different people that work in the organization, like Anthony said, with Ducks Unlimited, bring people on and y'all talk about what it's like to work there. There's so many different ideas you could do to bring it on to get people to get really involved in what you're doing and to hear about what you're doing. And then it gives them the chance to ask questions and network in the comments. Like I've built my whole community largely due to live streaming. People know that show, and it's humbling, man. It really is. I say it and it sounds like it's bragging, but I have a lot of people that show up to my Monday night show. A lot of people show up to that, and it's really humbling that people want to show up and listen to me ramble about whatever I ramble on, because that one has no topic whatsoever. I bring guests on and we just talk about whatever they want to talk about usually, but people show up to it. So I think it's a great tool. I hope that answered it.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Is there so there's that parasocial process, I think is really interesting. I've studied the book Influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini. He talks about the 6 ways that people are influenced, right? And some of them are some of those things that you mentioned, the authority, the likability factor, this idea of reciprocity. Hey, I'm giving you time, you're giving me, all this sort of thing. And some of those, it's so fascinating to see those different pillars of influence played out on social media, that people give, and there's the idea of reciprocity. They put on the trappings of authority, like you're more likely to not ask questions if somebody in a white lab coat asks you for your health information in any sort of hospital environment. You don't usually ask them if they're actually a doctor,
right?
Or whatever it happens to be. I'm sure there's a Step Brothers reference in here somewhere, from authority and that sort of thing. But social proof is one too, where we just by showing up and by being with the other people. Do we need to get that?
No, we don't. I'm on my lunch break. That can definitely wait.
We can just pause everything, Chris, if you need to take it.
No. One thing too, I didn't bring up, and I should have, was there's so much you can do with the live stream afterwards too. This is being recorded right now. I'm going to download it and put it on a hard drive. I can clip this. I can pull 1 to 3 minute clips, throw some captions on it and background music, and I've got a post now. It takes me 10 minutes ish to do that. It takes a little while to find the clips I want to post, but once I find it, the actual process is really quick. And then you can also pull the audio only off of this and publish it as a podcast. So if I wanted to, if we wanted to start a Prestige Worldwide podcast and publish it, we could do that. So there's so much you can do with it. And this is kind of my pitch to people is you take a 30-minute show a week, you can get 2 or 3 or more clips out of that to post as content across all your social media platforms. And if you wanted a podcast, you can do it. So you've you've got all this reach now out of 30 minutes a week to do this.
How long does that process usually take on the back end, chopping up and reformatting and bringing all that stuff out? Is that where Hip Productions takes care of it all, and people just call you up?
We sure can. It's on the top tier package. It costs a little more for me to do that, because I'm not a great video editor, but I have a video editor that does it and puts together some really professional looking stuff. My process is I pull it up in Windows Media Player. I find the clip I want. I clip that. I put it over in wave.video, which is the program I use like to make the intro video that was on here. Put a header and a footer on it that says, whatever, nonprofit talk with Jon DeLange or whatever it is. And I put a little bit of background music on it and caption it. And all that whole process from actually clipping it to putting it in Wave and doing that takes 10 minutes tops. Like, it's really easy. It's the hard part is learning the software. But that's a learning curve for anything. Once you get the software down, it takes no time at all to do that. I sat there last week off a show I did a few weeks ago and pulled 4 clips out and had them all done, ready to go in like an hour.
Yeah, I do the exact same thing. I use capwing.com as my online video editor, and I do exactly what Chris says. Like you said, the hardest part is finding the clips. Like in a 45-minute show, scrolling through and trying to find it.
That's
one of the things I was going to start doing, and I didn't do it for this episode. I was going to start like making notes, like when we had a conversation about a specific topic, like making a note. It started at minute 21 or something like that, just to speed that process up. But it's just a great way to repurpose content. And like, I'm going to take a clip, at least one clip from this show, as I'm sure Chris will, turn it into a post. And when I do that, I'm going to tag Chris, I'm going to tag you. And hopefully if you guys come back and engage with it, like that's going to give even more engagement, get the conversation going, get the reach going. So it's just a really powerful way to repurpose content.
Yeah. Yeah, Amy, 10 minutes for me. I know you could probably do it in like 2 minutes flat. It still takes me a little bit to do it. I have sped it up a lot, and it's, the more you do it too, the faster you're going to get at it. So it's going to be a little bit of a time suck at first, but once you get in the groove of, okay, boom, 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 then it's simple.
I appreciate that. That was one thing a number of years ago. I do these yearly challenges, right? This year in 2022, I'm posting every day on LinkedIn. Back in 2016, I read a book a week and then did a blog and a video about it. And man, I'll be honest with you guys, I just despise video editing as a result of that. I'm really glad I did it for a whole year and pushed myself to get it done. But man, it took a long time, and I'm glad there's people that can knock it out quickly. So that's a really good argument, Chris. I appreciate that. Maybe we should aim for a couple clippable moments here.
Yeah, definitely. And I can send you the recording of this if you wanted to clip it, or after I clipped a few, or Anthony does, we can send you the clips. But video editing is not my strong suit anyway, either, which is why for my clients, I let somebody who's a pro do it. I do my own stuff just for, time and money's sake. But I made myself learn it because I saw how effective video was on LinkedIn. Used to I would post a video and I might get a third or a quarter of my normal views. Like, it was terrible. And I don't know if something in the algorithm changed or if my videos changed, but they get as much reach now as a normal post does almost for me. Super effective. So I know you hate it. I know you don't like doing it, but I can show you, like, I don't mind getting on a call with you and showing you it. My process does not take very long to do at all. And it's super simple. And the softwares they have now, like the one Anthony uses, the one I use, the one Amy uses, they're all so simple. I mean, it doesn't really start getting difficult until you start getting into the really professional grade stuff. But just for making social media content, they've made it so simple now, man. It's so easy to do.
Yeah, I was completely overwhelmed at the idea of doing any of my own video editing when I first started doing videos on LinkedIn, because I was thinking of like having Adobe Premiere, I forget, whatever, one of those high dollar, really fancy
Adobe's,
video editing, like my head, that's overwhelming. But when I discovered like Capwing and like the tool that Chris mentioned, I would also encourage anyone who's doing video. I love to use the InShot app for my iPhone.
Yep.
And then I recently discovered the Captions app for iPhone for actually creating captions. The technology has come such a long way through those apps in the last couple of years. A year and a half ago, I was paying some company to transcribe my captions for my videos. Now there's ways you can do that for free or for very low cost. So don't let, I would say to anyone who's interested in video, don't feel like you have to edit every single video. Like, start out, just film the video on your phone and post it. And as you get more comfortable, as you can add a little bit more polish to it, like that's where apps like InShot come in, or Capwing.
Yep.
But don't let that overwhelm you getting started on video, for sure.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, captions are great for accessibility. Background music adds some little pizzazz and sparkle to it or whatever. But yeah, exactly like Anthony said, I'm a big fan of just starting.
Yes.
Shoot the video on your phone and then upload it. Do it in one take. That's another thing too. Do it in one take. Do not worry about, unless you just butcher it real bad. But I'm a one take kind of guy whenever I shoot a video.
You're braver than me. I'm not. I have rarely been a one take guy. There have been many sessions where I have sat in a parking lot with my phone in my car, filming it, because I didn't want another human being to see how awkward it was. Me shooting this video. We want millions of people to see the finished product, but we don't want another human to actually witness the awkwardness of filming especially your first videos. And that's why most of my first videos were literally shot in a parking lot in my truck, because I didn't want, even in my own house, I wasn't comfortable. I wanted the seclusion of my truck where no other human could hear or see me.
Yeah, I get it.
That's why you always see the kids, they stop their TikTok dance when you drive up for that same reason, I think.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, guys, we are out of time. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, John. These were some great questions. This is going to be a lot of good content out of this one show. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. And John, keep up the great work that you're doing. Like I said, the fact that you've come so far on LinkedIn over the last couple of years is phenomenal. Keep it up and keep inspiring others.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
For sure. All right, y'all. We'll be back in 2 weeks, same time, 12:15 Central, with Krista Scamahorn. She'll be the last guest of the year, and Krista's amazing. Y'all are going to love her. She'll probably have she probably already has the whole thing planned out. So anyway, y'all have an amazing week, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye, guys.